Hi everybody, hope everybody's well. I'm going to share my experience of sertraline, which has been added to medication that I currently take. I take psychiatric medication because I have a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder. I was diagnosed in 2013. I also suffer with depression and anxiety, which is an element of the borderline, I expect. Also, I'm in alcohol recovery. I've been in recovery for 10 years now. However, I'm going to talk about the sertraline that's been added to my Mirtazapine, which is 45mg, and Quetiapine, which is 75mg. Now, prior to having the sertraline added, before the end of 2017, I had quite a serious relapse with my mental health. My borderline was probably, was playing up. I was getting seriously depressed. I was self-harming. I was in a really dark place. My anxiety was through the roof. I couldn't cope with the anxiety. I couldn't even go to the shop without experiencing severe anxiety. I had to come out of I've been at university for the last 2 years, and I had to come out of there in October because of these symptoms. So I took myself back to my GP, who referred me urgently to the mental health team. I've been under psychiatrist in the past. However, getting to see one of those these days is quite difficult. So I was seen by my GP. They liaised with the mental health team, and it was decided that they would add sertraline to the Mirtazapine and Quetiapine. Now, I was given sertraline 50mg to start with. I think that's the starting dose. And to be quite fair, the first week I did experience a few side effects, not too heavy but there was mainly some nauseous, tummy ache, especially a couple of hours after taking the sertraline. Got like a weird stomach ache, a little bit of a headache, a little bit lightheaded and dizzy, but not and slight anxiety. However, the first week it weren't too bad. The second week, pretty much similar again. Mild side effects, on and off. There was intermittent side effects. However, I did notice after a couple of weeks I was less depressed. However, I'm not sure I don't think the anxiety had really cleared up. But even that was starting to feel slightly better. I had 50mg for the first month, and then I went back to my GP, and they suggested we increase the dose to 100mg of sertraline. So I was now having 100mg of sertraline, 45mg of Mirtazapine, and 75mg of Quetiapine. Again, the side effects from taking 100mg, I did notice a few hours after taking the first tablet, you would get kind of like a stomach ache, kind of like a head rush feeling. It would last a few hours, and then it would kind of ease off, but then it would keep happening intermittently, maybe the odd time through the day. However, the depression did seem to be easing quite considerably. Even after the first week on 100mg, the depression was pretty non-existent, really. Like I say, the anxiety was on and off. However, I think the side effects from sertraline may have caused some anxiety, but it was starting to ease. It was starting to feel a little bit better. It was like you had some anxiety, but you didn't seem to care too much about it. Probably being less depressed maybe helps deal with your anxiety. So the first week, side effects on and off. Second week, same again. Third week, sent to get used to it. The 4th week, pretty much no side effects again. However, then I went back to my GP. We continued again with another 100mg. Again, virtually no side effects. You just a little bit, a couple of hours after you take your tablet, 2 or 3 hours after you take your tablet. Again, a little bit of stomach ache. It's a weird kind of stomach ache too. It's not horrible, but you wouldn't want it there all day. But like I say, after a few hours, it would kind of ease off, and pretty much okay after that. And that's how it was through the 2nd month on 100mg. Apart from towards the end of the 2nd month on 100mg, I had 3 days where I felt like my head was going to explode, and I got this kind of weird feeling inside, like a stomach churning feeling for about 3 days, for a few hours each day. Then after that it disappeared. Then I went back to my GP, explained to my GP the depression has disappeared, completely disappeared. However, there are still elements of anxiety, so she said, shall we increase it to 150? And I said, yeah, I'll give it a go. So now I'm on my 1st week, on the 8th day of taking 150mg sertraline on top of the 45mg Mirtazapine and 75mg of Quetiapine. The side effects, pretty much not much at all. Quite surprised. Certainly the first 2 days, nothing. In fact, I felt calmer the first 2 days. However, from day 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, there has been some, again, side effects a few hours after taking, 2 or 3, 4 hours after taking the sertraline. The usual I seem to get is, like I say, a kind of like slight stomach ache and a little bit of dry mouth also, and slightly lightheaded, but not too bad, but easily, quite easy to tolerate. And so up to now, I am enjoying the effects of what the sertraline's doing for me at the moment. I'm certainly not depressed. It's kind of wiped that out. Some anxiety, but it's not. It's manageable. It's quite easily manageable. I'm going to the shops okay. I'm taking my time in the shops. I'm getting on buses okay. I'm getting out and about okay. There is some anxiety a tiny bit, but it seems to be manageable. I think it helps that I'm not in a low mood with it. Maybe I'll always have a little bit of anxiety, but I've got to say the sertraline, for me, myself, is pretty good going, really. Even the side effects I've been able to cope with, and considering it's an SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, they can come with quite harsh side effects. So, I've tried venlafaxine in the past, Prozac in the past, and both of those, it was horrendous, the side effects, especially the venlafaxine. The sertraline, to me, has seemed a little bit more tolerable. So, if anybody, this is just my journey. I can't speak for anyone else, but for me, I think it's been a really good drug at the moment. It seems to be working really well for me. Given the time, you just have to get through the on and off side effects. We all react differently, but it's just getting through those side effects. And then once you get through those side effects, the tablet does seem to settle. Like I say, I'm on my 8th day of taking 150mg. So far, so good, really. So, if anybody out there is thinking of taking sertraline, or it's been suggested by the medical team, the doctors, the psychiatrists, mental health team, etc., it could be worth giving it a go. And if you do give it a go, maybe give it time. However, like I say, I am Mine is mixed with Mirtazapine 45mg and Quetiapine 75mg. So I can't speak for sertraline on its own as a medication on its own. I can only speak of my experience from adding it to those other medications, Mirtazapine and Quetiapine. And up to now, I've been really pleased with what it's done. You know, it's even people I know have seen a change in me. I'm more alive and more bright. They've seen it in my face. It's, before, at the end of 2017, I was suicidal. I'd had enough. I was in such a dark place. It was awful. I was self-harming every other day. And that goes with the borderline personality disorder. So, all in all, I'm really pleased with the results so far. I will make another video in say 2 or 3 weeks to see, after my first month on the 150mg. Anyway, I hope whoever watches this finds it useful, and I hope you've enjoyed what I've had to say. I've tried to say it the best I can. It's the first video I've ever made, so I hope people can get something from it. Anyway, I shall make another video in 2 or 3 weeks after my first month on 150mg. So anyway, bye for now, and thank you for listening.